Hello, everybody. I am so excited to have this next guy on the show, and his story is going to blow you away. Retired Detective Brent Cartwright. He is an author of Undercover Junkie. He is a motivational speaker, and his story is going to blow you away. And he's inspiring and motivating everybody he comes into contact with. Brent, welcome on the show, brother. Thank you for being here.
Hey man, I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough for your time and allow me to be on here and talk about me and my message.
Absolutely, brother. Now, I always ask, retired cops such as yourself, former first responders, whatever you're doing. All right, why did you want to become a cop?
It's not the answer that probably everybody else
Trust
gave.
me, I've heard of a lot of them, brother.
I was an MP, forced to be an MP when I got reorganized from my artillery time in the army,
Thank you
and
for
they made me an
service.
MP. And as
Yeah,
soon as I appreciate you too, buddy.
thank you.
I didn't want to be. As soon as I got out, I was like, I don't want to be a cop ever again. I don't want any. And it was forced upon me. I hated it. And I came back out. I was doing sales, and my old roommate when I was in Fort Lewis was a cop here in Kansas City. And one day we connected, and he said, "Man, how's things going?" I told him, "Man, things are just terrible. I don't like my job and not excited. I didn't have like a tribe or a family, like feeling, you
Yeah,
know, a part of a group." And he said, "Dude, I knew you were meant to be a cop when we were working together. Go do a ride along. I promise you, you're gonna like open your eyes and you'll want to do it." So I gave him the shot at it, man. I did the ride along and I was hooked.
yeah,
Just absolutely, we had a foot chase and a car chase, and we worked a homicide scene and like all the excitement that came with it. I like this, and you could see the camaraderie, which I'd always had from my military days, and man, it was meant to be.
yeah.
So,
And you're a junkie, hence the name.
Man, adrenaline junkie was something I was always kind of anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, it really fit.
And then you got into, so you did time on the street, I'm assuming.
Yeah, about 6.5 years.
6.5 years on patrol, and then you get into UC work, right?
Yeah.
Undercover for those of you who are going, what the hell is a UC? So talk about that time, brother.
Yeah, so I joined the undercover squad, man, purely out of I was burnout and patrol, and tired of running 40 and 50 calls a night. I mean, we're a bigger city, really violent in Kansas City, usually in the top 10, per capita for
Mhm.
violence. And I spent my entire time on the overnight shift, um, in patrol, just in the worst part of our city, man. So taking over the UC stuff, I mean, it was all something new to me. My hometown was like 200 people.
Yeah.
So to come into
Big city.
actually, yeah, big city and dope. I mean, I was an athlete, and so I never even smoked a cigarette. Now I'm out here trying to buy dope, and it was just all new to me. But every time I did it, any little thing, man, I just got more and more hooked. So, and it was really cool to be able to do something that very few people get a chance to do. I mean, it's one of those careers that less than 1% of cops actually ever get to do what I had done. We
Yeah.
weren't just running informants. Most of the time, we were actually in the houses doing the buys ourselves, getting the search warrants, buying the guns, and I saw it as a way to really make a bigger impact on society in that way. So, but it was, I mean, you talk about an adrenaline ride. I mean, it totally was.
Well, and yeah, and a lot of people, you know this, Brent. I mean, they watch TV, they see these movies and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I mean, it's cool," and it is cool. I mean, I never did. I was
Yeah.
never undercover, but people don't understand the risks that you're taking every day. You're unarmed, right? I mean, you're mic'd up, I think, bugged or whatever. I don't know how you're doing
Half
that
the
stuff.
time, hey, yeah, half the time our listening device didn't even work.
Yeah.
So you
But
knew
you
you were all
are,
by yourself.
yeah, you're all by yourself. It's not like you have backup next to you when you're on the street or anything like that. So, I mean, I can't imagine that amount of pressure. I mean, the good thing, like you said, is you're getting bad guys and girls off the street. You're taking drugs off the street, weapons, all that shit. But you're putting your life at risk every day as a cop, but even more so as a UC.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Even when I first started, they started talking about we have some extra money in the budget and we want to put hazard pay out there for a couple of units. We didn't have very many undercovers, and they gave it to the mounted patrol people on horseback, which I am not a big fan of horses. So when they said that, I was like, I get it. I thought, wait a minute, man, I'm out here, no vest, and I'm in all the crack and dope houses. I mean, it. Why didn't I get in that cut? I mean, because we're not making much anyway. And I thought every little
Exactly.
bit would help. We couldn't work off duty. I mean, You weren't allowed in police facilities, like all the things. We were like the true, you just completely forget you were a cop. And that's what really became a struggle for me was I lost my whole identity.
Yeah.
And even like the informants that I would run with, you know, I their life is in really big danger because they live in it 24/7 where I might be out there, 14, 16 hours a day. They always have to deal with repercussions of it. So
Yeah.
I even found that, man, I actually took care to for their well-being way more than mine, which
Yeah.
is what, started a lot of demise for me was
Yeah.
taking more and more risks for the adrenaline hits. But then, I wouldn't say I was devaluing my life, but I was definitely put my safety at well in the back.
And for the listeners out there who don't, just are not, first responders or anything, we used to, a part of my agency, we used to have, UCs and people working the drug task force, and you know this, but for the people who don't, I mean, their appearance is just completely, you won't even recognize them. At least I didn't.
Yeah.
Every time the drug task force guys would come into the PD, I'd be like, "Oh, who are you? Oh, hey, what's up, man?"
I had I mean, obviously your neighbors and your family, they realize what's going on, but
Yeah,
people you haven't seen for 6 months. I mean, it didn't take my hair long to get really long.
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
never had a beard in my life. And then, I'm dressing in like the worst and dirtiest and the stinkiest clothes. I'm scratching oil stains on parking lots to get under your finger because everything, I wouldn't say dope dealers are really smart necessarily, but they're very wary and they pick up on every detail. Your teeth, your fingernails, your clothes, your pants fit too good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, everything was all under a radar. And so where like at first doing undercover work, man, I really got focused on my physical appearance. I mean, trying to knock the cop out of your own behavior, man, they pick up on that even quicker. Like
Absolutely,
power
absolutely.
stance, you have too much confidence,
Mannerisms, all that talk,
don't want anybody behind you.
how you're
Yeah.
talking and stuff and all that stuff. I mean, it's just what was the so that was the high part of it, the adrenaline rush. Doing good for the community and getting, like we said, bad people off the street and drugs and all this bad shit. What was the low point in your career when you were doing this, brother? What was the catalyst that kind of spun you down the path?
Um, it's not much different than normal addiction, man. Is
Hmm.
eventually you get numb to everything, just as I did on patrol, right? I got numb to, in Kansas City, we have a murder on, on average, every other night
Hmm.
throughout 20, all year round. So you get kind of worn out with that or the same DV calls or, just disturbances. And eventually, man, everything was just more and more mundane. Okay, I'm going up and I'm knocking on this door. I'm trying to buy meth, trying to buy PCP, like all the things that I would have never done as, Brent, I'm doing as my undercover name was Ricky. So,
Hmm.
and it just became, I was focused on always being at work and not being at home or, not being super present at home. But everything was like, you know, I'm not getting a high. So, man, I started creating arguments. Or if a gun came out, instead of doing the right thing and trying to get out of the situation or if arguments are happening, man, I wasn't recognizing that that was a bad thing. And like where somebody's about to get shot, I was registering it like as a four, like it was just an everyday, okay, this is no big deal. So I didn't fully recognize it necessarily then in the moment though, that that was what was happening, because that was what was becoming a problem.
Yeah.
When things weren't between a 7 and a 9 on a danger scale, I was in complete depression mode. So I
Mm.
was doing things to make arguments and fights and arguing over price on dope. And I usually bought like ounces and below, which for those that don't know and didn't do this line of work or aren't familiar, like those are the dangerous ones.
Yeah.
Those are your dealers that have nothing to lose, and $40 meth deal could be life and death for them, or they feel it that way.
Hmm.
Your cartel buys, you're buying a kilo, man, they're your best friend. Usually you meet out at dinner, you're hanging out, having drinks, and all those are like business deals, and they don't want trouble. You don't want trouble. Those are easy.
Yeah. It's a
So,
bit more of a bit. It's a lot of money, and it's everybody's.
yeah.
It's a business transaction more. I mean, they're all
Yes.
business transactions, but
Yeah.
I know
It
what
gets
you mean.
yeah, it gets glorified in the movies and everything else, that those are the big scary deals, man. It is your $40 crack rocks. Those are your scary ones, man, because they will rob and stab anybody over something for $40.
So when you said that were you getting complacent? It sounds like.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was complacent necessarily. I was getting reckless.
You were getting reckless. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would go, what would cause me to be really hyped up on like year or like in my first 6 months, by year 3 and 4, it was so mundane that I was bored doing the work. And if you
Hmm.
get bored, you really start making stretches and reaching for deals, and then again, making deals more risky than they should be, and ones that should give you red flags like, hey, I think this guy's giving me all the signs he's going to rob me. I was like, oh, I got this, and I can talk my way out of anything. And man, sure enough, then I get a gun in my face. You're
Yeah.
like, what did you expect was going to happen?
Yeah.
But then I never got shot at the time, so I was like, well, I never got burned by the oven.
Yeah.
So it seemed to work out. I got my
Yeah.
adrenaline dump and I got happy and excited and the dopamine was kicking in and I was having a great time at that
Yeah.
point. So,
But
and
I
that's
like
where,
but what you said. I mean, it's all important. But what you said about going back to family, where you were creating arguments and you were irritable and stuff like that, and that's you even said, Brent, the depression was kicking in. You were so addicted to the work and doing the work, and I was the same way, even though I was never undercover, but just addicted to the rush. You know what I mean? Where I neglected my family, which I felt guilty about. And that's why I went to treatment is part of it is because of the guilt I felt.
yeah, man. And it's, again, you don't have to do undercover work. I mean, this is all first responders
Yeah,
and it doesn't even
absolutely.
have to be first responders. I mean, this can be any career,
Yeah, any career.
high
Yeah.
stress environments, and you're like sales guys that are addicted to catching big sales or little sales even. But like a good way that I bring an analogy in when I come and present at places is when my first kid was born. And when she was born, we could take 12 weeks of paternity leave or maternity leave, whatever you are,
I know where you're
right?
going with this.
And right, my second kid, I took 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
After the first week, I was calling and saying, I'm coming back in. Now, they didn't need me in there, but I convinced myself. So I would leave my wife. We have family all over the country. I had to leave her with a 3-year-old and a newborn to travel and the airports to go into Pennsylvania and Florida, North Carolina, in Chicago to go visit family while I was at work getting my fill. Because being at home, I love my kids to death. My wife, she's a saint. But being at home was so, even with a brand new newborn, was just not registering any of the excitement and adrenaline. So, man,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the best
Yeah.
way to show it when people are like, wait a minute, I
Yeah.
did that. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I did
yeah,
it too. I was going
we
to
did it.
say
Yeah.
I did it too. I mean, when I should be spending time with my family and I have two kids, um, I was listening to the scanner or I was
Yeah.
checking emails or I was calling guys and, hey, what's going on at work, man? And I couldn't, yeah, I know exactly what you're,
Yeah.
whatever, all you're saying resonates with me.
Yeah, man, I've got a picture where my mom caught me at the hospital talking to my CI
Yeah.
while my wife is in labor. I was like, man, I not right, at the time when I got caught, I was embarrassed. And now I can look back and just realize, I mean, that was a product of a broken me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and you got to give yourself some, give yourself a little bit of lax and be careful about hammering yourself too hard because you are broken if you're doing those kind of
Yeah.
things. And you
Absolutely.
just don't realize it, which is a
Yeah.
great, like why you're doing what you're doing and doing what I'm doing and bringing these messages. People just don't realize it till they see it.
Well, I didn't know this until I got in, I went through treatment and then I, work in behavioral health, like, I didn't realize this until I'm on the other end where, talking with clients and stuff. But a lot of people out there, first responders too, have, they call it ACE, adverse childhood experiences where whatever that, it could be anything, to the very extreme, which horrible stuff like abuse, sexual abuse to witnessing it and everything in between. But the point is that a lot of people carry those childhood experiences in their adulthood. And I'm not saying you are, but it resonates that you said, you just had this depression and stuff. And a lot of first responders, they had something happen when they were younger because a lot of first responders, again, I'm not saying you, Brent, they get into the field because of the excitement and they want to do good, but they don't want to be, they were a victim at some point. They witnessed something and they saw something and they don't want that shit to happen to anybody else. So they want to go in and protect people, which is not a bad thing. But in the end, they suffer because they take on that burden. They feel guilty that they can't protect everybody. You know where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think actually, most first responders would probably be surprised to hear that ACE score is generally in par with the same as most of the prison population.
Absolutely.
Like it's,
Yeah.
your path just is a little bit different, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
sad.
similar.
It's
Yeah.
sad. And so talk about the call that went to shit, man. that changed your life, that changed your life?
Yeah, man. So in July of 2018, I was undercover. I got assigned to a pretty elite squad. We did long-term investigations, buying murder weapons, guns from felons, gang members and everything like that, and doping guns together. But we were so good, and this was mostly them. They did a lot of that work before I came on their unit, but we were so good, we got tasked with tracking down every homicide suspect that happened in Kansas City,
Wow.
which is 180 a year on, at
Hmm.
150 to 180 on a given year. So generally within an hour of the homicide, we were boots on the ground trying to track associates and where they had, who we think the suspect is, and developing the suspects with the homicide detectives. And there was a Middle Eastern student working at a restaurant, and um, he got robbed by this gentleman named Marlon Mack. This is the guy that ended up shooting me. And when he got robbed, he was scared, opened the drawer, did everything was asked of, but tried to run. He was just scared and tried to run, and Marlon Mack killed him. So we get out, we're tracking this guy down and trying to find him. And we had been working for like 5 weeks without a single day off. And we have what's called a street narcotics unit, attack unit, our
Hmm.
SWAT guys, are like our super, elite guys, the guys that you want protecting you. They're not going to do surround and call outs. They're the guys that are going to kick the door in and come get you.
Hmm.
They were even getting worked way harder than we were. So they decided to take the day off, and they gave us two of their guys who volunteered to come in as long as we promised, just to do surveillance only, man. And that's what it was until it wasn't. Marlon went to a different hotel. We finally located him, and we were gonna basically lay him down at that hotel and come back Monday morning and come get him. And I saw when I went up to go, I was gonna rent a room or try to figure out what room number he was in with the manager's office. And as soon as I did that, man, Marlon Mack was right in this manager's office. It's like a 10 foot by 8 foot, bulletproof glass, really shady motel. And I saw that. I was like, well, he's not in his car, and he, is sitting in this bulletproof cage. What better way than bring some enforcement and just park him there? And he can't go anywhere. The
Yeah.
manager's not in there. He can't get through this bulletproof glass. So we could wait that guy out for a week if we needed to. So I was boots on the ground, in undercover. I just had my crappy t-shirt and baggy shorts, and I called them in to come get him. Well, he was watching me outside and got nervous, and he made it to he came out and got to his car. And as soon as he got to like the back bumper of his car, our SWAT guys pulled up behind him. Just a two-man crew. Not the way we'd normally do it. Normally, we're like bringing the whole team, right?
Sure.
You
Sure.
overwhelm him at the time, especially a guy this dangerous.
Hmm.
He was, noted as being one of Oklahoma's most violent robbers, and then he moved to Kansas City to keep doing his thing. But he had a passenger in the car, and the guy just started acting goofy, got out of the car, wasn't paying attention to commands, and just started walking sideways. And then Marlon got out of his car. As I walked up, I thought, I'll help. And this was like something unheard of for me. At that time, it was, almost 7 years of undercover work. And I interjected myself in a stop. Now, that was for me, number one, you don't do that. I don't have a badge. I don't have police markings. I don't have a vest.
Sure.
I don't have a
Sure.
gun,
Sure.
handcuffs. So total no-no. And I decided I was going to get Mike, which is our SWAT guy that was starting um, the felony car check. And I was going to get his handcuffs and go arrest the kid and hold him while him and his partner could focus 2-on-1 on Marlon Mack. And the moment I got right to his handcuff pouch on his back of his belt, Mac stepped out with an AK-47 pistol and just lit us up. So,
Jesus.
yeah. And he wasn't one of those like, I'm just going to shoot and, call it good or try to jump and run away. He charged towards the car. He hit Mike 4 times, which one of them knocked him down. I thought Mike was dead on the ground. He was laying belly first. And I didn't know it, but, Mike's had hit the door jamb with his gun, and he had a stovepipe. So, which is not an easy malfunction to clear,
No.
especially as a guy is running towards you with an AK pistol with an 80-round drum mag. I mean, so Mike popped up pretty quick, but you know how our senses really slow things down. Our
Yeah. Yeah.
hearing gets really precise, and things get really tunnel vision. That's what was going on. It seemed like forever, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna take Mike's gun, and I'm going to stay right here with him. And when Marlon Mack comes around the corner, we're just going to have a 2 foot shootout.
Hmm.
And thank God Mike popped up, took off, and him and Patrick started, displacing and trying to get attack him at a different angle, man. And what that left for me was get out in the middle of this little tiny parking lot, solo with no way to protect myself and no way to get out. And yeah, Marlon Mack chased me around, and I think something 16, 18 rounds, and he got me with 6 of them.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
In the what part of the body? In the back and where legs or where?
Man, I got really lucky. I was a little guy at the time, so and he was pretty close. He started shooting us, from like 15 feet away, and we got a little bit of separation, but it closed back when he rounded the corner of the police car they were in that I was hiding behind. But when I first started displacing around the car, he hit me in the back of the left knee, and I didn't know it. So when I've watched the surveillance video that actually captured it all, you see me do like a barrel roll
Jesus.
on the ground and pop back up in like a bear crawl position. And so he hit me twice in the right leg, in the lower right leg, twice in my left knee, and my left wrist, and it blew out my elbow, and then my right tricep broke my arm.
Jesus
So
Christ.
nothing in the right now. So you watch me in the video, man. I run away. I mean,
Yeah.
like when he starts chasing, like charging me, my instinct sets in. Like there's only one thing to do is to run, which is a really terrible feeling as a cop.
Yeah, but
Like
you
you're used
you're
to,
you're you're a UC, brother. You got no body armor. You got nothing on.
yeah. It's still, well, it's something that you would have never. It's there's like a
Yeah,
shame thing part of that
yeah, yeah.
for sure. But yeah, I get away, man, and I get around this privacy fence, and he quits chasing us, and Mike and his partner are trying to catch him around. Well, he gets away initially, but I start checking myself, and I'm doing like, oh, okay, chest is good, crotch is good. I'm like, I'm all good. I didn't even feel it, didn't know it, man. But my left leg was, obviously two bullets of an AK-47 in your left knee is gonna. Lucky it didn't rip my leg off. So I took a step and I crumbled, fell to the ground, and I was confused. Like, what the hell, man? I don't. Why is this
Jesus.
happening? And I pull my leg up, and yeah,
And it was
I
what,
had
7.62? I mean, what
yeah, yeah,
Jesus Christ. And for those people out there who don't know what a 7.62 round is, that's a pretty good round. That's pretty good size. That's it's bigger than 5.56 for those of you who know. A lot bigger than a 9 mil. That shit'll
yeah. It's
mess
a
you
little
up.
little bit bigger than the diameter of a pencil,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
about a little over an inch and a quarter long. So,
Jesus.
and coming at
Well,
a high velocity.
well, God bless you being here, brother. So you got the guy. They
He got
finally
away
catch the.
initially.
Okay, you
Yeah.
got away initially, but you nabbed him eventually, or they nabbed him.
Yeah, he holed up in an abandoned house, and then there was another shootout for about an hour and a half with him, where he shot another one of our officers. So 3 of us got shot that day. When he started running low on ammo, he jumped out of the house and the basement, and of course we had it, surrounded. And he came out just spraying the tree line, and our officers
Yeah,
did what they had to do, man, and
yeah.
took him down. So yeah, he's gone.
Well, I'm glad you're here, brother. And so you go through that. You get shot 3 times. Obviously, there's recovery. There's the mental aspect of it, right? And then there's surgery. I'm assuming, recovery, all that stuff.
Several surgeries later, man. I don't have any. I'm partially paralyzed on my left leg. I came back to work when I wasn't even ready, but I was too proud,
Hmm.
and it was too much shame and guilt and blame from that incident. Right?
Yeah,
It's supposed to be surveillance only. I called the audible. I created this mess. I got Mike shot. I got the other guy shot. All these people had to be subjected to this big, huge shootout. I mean, if there was a responsibility pie, I took it all. I mean,
yeah,
I didn't give any to the Marlin that shot me. I didn't give any of it to him. So it was all
yeah,
me. And I was having, I mean, obviously it's understandable. I was having trouble sleeping and having really bad nightmares and started drinking really heavily. And it was just things that were all going downhill, but I hit it the best I could because I didn't want to feel like I got defeated again.
yeah.
It felt like that day in that parking lot, I got punched as a kid, like a kid on the playground.
Sure.
I got punched and never got to throw a punch.
Yeah,
So to say that I couldn't come back to work, no matter my physical or mental, issues, felt like another gut punch.
yeah,
So I mean, I forced my way and I came back and I worked for a couple of years until I finally saw how dangerous I was getting. Our squad got in another shooting and another bad takedown, and I'm hampered physically, hard to, move, maneuver, and my safety was at risk. I was having a hard time holding my gun, all the things. And I'd blame it on, right? Missouri's cold at the time. My hands were shaking. Well, it's because I'm cold, not because my nerves can't
Hmm.
handle this job anymore. So, and yeah, raised my hand. I said, I need help, which is the hardest thing to do.
And what
Uh,
explain that, brother, when you you reached out for help. What did that look like?
it was a terrible piece of humble pie.
Hmm.
There is, as you know, a lot of stigma around because it was not, I need physical help, I needed mental help. And people understand physical injuries in this line of work. They don't always understand the mental ones. And when they do understand it more, there are usually people are hiding it because you can get ridiculed and it's seen as a sign of weakness. And we always have to be tough and we have to be the strongest ones. And it feels like defeat if you say you need help because we're supposed to help people, not need help.
Yeah.
There was a lot of really a lot of shame on that one, and shame is one of those things that'll bear you, man. It just will.
Yeah.
And I looked at it from a standpoint of I'm drinking. The moment we said we're done for the day, because I went back to my same squad, I just promised my wife that I wouldn't buy dope anymore and buy guns.
Yeah.
But I was on a surveillance team of this. I'm jumping out, so I am so amped up anxiety wise. I couldn't sleep,
But
drinking.
was there a
Go ahead.
point, Brent, where you were like, what was the because I know my low point where I was like, I had a gun to my head and I was going to kill myself. What was the catalyst? I mean, obviously you've been through a traumatic event, you got shot, but was there like, then you went back to work. Was there a pivotal point where it was just like got so bad where you said, fuck it, I need help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I almost quit.
Okay.
And it was I know the exact situation that so we had a robbery crew that was out doing armed robberies and they were robbing dope dealers and they were robbing, gas stations and cell phone stores and we were following them in to and they pinned themselves into a parking lot.
Yeah.
And our SWAT team came, they backed in as most of these bad guys will do. And so our SWAT team pins them in head on and I had a minivan at the time, so I blocked the rest of the parking lot and got out with my handgun. And one of the guys got out of the car. He was on the passenger side. He jumps out. He gets behind the SUV that he was in. Our bad guy has his gun drawn and he's trying to get a shot on our SWAT guys. And I am, 30 yards, which is a pretty good shot,
Hmm.
with the pistol. But I'm 30 yards to the side, so I'm like perpendicular. I'm seeing this
Sure.
thing, and I had him. I should have had him dead in my sights. For all intents and purposes, legality reasons, I should have shot this dude. Had he end up getting a shot and killing our guys, it would have absolutely killed me.
Oh,
I don't know what would have happened to me mentally, but it all worked out. That it was a pretty big thing. We had a bunch of ATF agents came storming into from the side,
mhm.
and the guy saw it and gave up. Thank goodness. Right,
Yeah.
that's how we want these all to play out, is not having a gunfight. But
Sure.
I looked at it was like when I did have my gun on him, I was looking down my sights trying to get a trigger sight and squeeze on it. My gun was just shaking so bad,
Yeah.
and I realized, like, man, I can't protect those guys, my partners, and my teammates. I sure as hell can't protect myself. I'm a danger. I'm going to get somebody killed or me, and I couldn't bear to be responsible for that again.
Yeah.
Right? It already happened to me once, where I was responsible for somebody getting hurt. I couldn't do it again. I came home crying. Really up until me getting shot, I rarely had cried. You could just get so desensitized and numb in this environment, man. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm realizing, man, I'm crying, and I knew my career was over. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the other part too. I like what is everything that I've known that I've loved, which is so funny because I'd like found my way in this career by accident.
Yeah.
I ended up loving it so much, but I had to sit in my own, pot of crap and realize I am done and I have to make the rest and best decision for myself.
Yeah.
And so that
Well,
was it, man.
Well, and take God bless you for getting help, brother, because as first responders, that's one of the toughest things for as far as our culture and the first responder world, whatever you're doing is, coming forward and saying, I need some help,
But yeah,
and God bless you. And you know that what happened wasn't your fault. I mean, it was just, you were trying to help, that. I mean,
yeah, for
I'm
sure,
sure,
man.
and
And
I'm
that's
sure you learned that with, going through therapy and stuff.
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing that people need to understand is you it's okay to get there. I mean, even the toughest of the toughest people out there, they're in therapy. I mean, like you think of any of our top elite Navy SEAL guys, and they go to therapy. Our therapists, they see therapists, so they're not even immune, right? So why
Yeah.
do we think we have to be immune? And if we can take care of ourselves early, you're not going to find yourself in such a deep hole when things may inevitably go bad. You'll
Yeah.
have better ways to cope with it. You'll have better self-awareness and self-regulation. All the things that are destructive to our careers,
Yeah.
you can handle that stuff so much better. And I think that's the point that people really need. And it needs to be taught early, man. Because
Yeah.
if you're in year 15, it's probably too late to curb your bad behaviors and
Yeah.
bad. I mean, you can get fixed for sure. There's always a way out. And
But
it's
I think, people like you, Brent, that, had just an amazing career. You survived a shooting, almost took your life, and you have the courage and the humility to come and open up. Those people like you are the ones who are changing the culture of law enforcement, because especially with the young people, here you got a seasoned veteran like you working undercover for years in one of the toughest areas in the country. They that resonates with people, and that is huge, because it's not. And I was a commander. I'm not making change. I don't affect the change, maybe a little bit, but it's people like you on the ground in the streets. Those are the people that these young cops and first responders look to and say, "Oh shit, I better start taking this stuff more seriously." You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And I think that's exactly why I do what I do now
Yeah,
is and because right you've been through the either the mental health awareness and to get your post hours or to get your credits in for your certifications but and we sit there and it's some doctor preaching to us or some wellness person out of your department coming to talk to you about this
yeah,
is how many suicides we've had last year, let's get it below 100. We've been through it and you just want to hurry that class up as fast as you can to sign
yeah,
on the dotted line and move along. But if people can see the real story and see the destruction, because again, like getting shot turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me.
yeah,
It saved my life. I was going through a destructive path before that. And the
yeah,
moment that I finally, the light switched and I could see it all for real, it saved me and it brought me into a whole new place. So if people can see my journey from the start to finish, I mean, they'll either see themselves in it, commanders will see their employees in it, and their peers in it,
yeah,
and you can call people out. Because if I called you out for having problems and issues, if you didn't think you had a problem, you'd be like I did back in the day. If somebody would have come to me, I'd have been like, go pound sand,
yeah,
right? I don't
exactly.
have a problem. Leave me alone. I'm doing my job. I'm doing great work. Just leave me alone.
Yeah,
And that's a hard thing for a commander to do as well, is to check
absolutely,
somebody because
absolutely,
you're going to get pushback. Nobody's going to be
absolutely.
like, oh, yeah, you're right. I do have a problem. If they can see they have a
Yeah,
problem, though, you have a higher likelihood of it.
yeah, and and you know this, Brent. I mean, when first responders who have struggled, such as yourself, me, are talking to other first responders, it's amazing, because working in behavioral health for a little while now, it's amazing how much we're all struggling with the same shit. Now, not everybody is taking rounds like you are, and God bless you for being here. But in terms of depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, I remember when I went through treatment, in the first couple of days I was there, it was like, you know, they don't understand because my problems are somehow different from theirs. And I tell clients, I say, look, you are special. You are loved. There's only one of you, and you have more support than you know, but your problems aren't that unique in terms of depression and suicidal ideation. And the point is, they're horrible. I'm not trying to mitigate that, but a lot of people, so many people are struggling with the same thing. So talk about it, open up, put your ego aside, your fear aside, and you're going to start feeling better, like you do when you talk about it, and you're getting it out. That's therapeutic. It's therapeutic for me to listen to you, a survivor, somebody who's inspiring, because I'm still in therapy. I'm in recovery. And so when I hear people like you putting everything out there and telling their story, it's huge. And for the listeners too, it should be big, especially the first responders out there, because your story, brother, could be the playbook for somebody else. that's out there listening right now. You know what I mean? Your journey could be the playbook. Somebody who's on the fence right now saying, I'm struggling, but I just listened to Brent and fuck, I'm going to start opening up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I hope so. And you know
Powerful.
what? I make myself available to anybody. I'm easy to find, which is crazy to think, right? My old career was to be an enigma and never be found. I mean, you couldn't
Right.
find me on anything. And so now when I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get found so people hear my story,
Yeah.
it's sometimes hard. But if you look for me now, it's pretty easy to find me.
Yeah.
And I
Th-
do a bunch of peer stuff, the same as you, where people, I'm hoping that they see themselves in my story and man, call me. I'll
no,
email me.
absolutely.
And it's easy to get a hold of me. I love to feel like I'm helping because that's, what I was always into service. And now this is just my other way to be service again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my badge and I can't go do the things I used to do, but maybe I can help somebody. And if I just help one person, man, that's a win for me. And I'm happy as hell to do it.
Well, isn't it amazing how, I mean, God works, whatever you believe in. I mean, believe in God, and it's when in our darkest moments, brother, we can't see that there's another purpose, there's another path for us. You left law enforcement, I left law enforcement, something I was passionate about and I loved. Same thing with you. But then God had a different plan for us, and now you're doing amazing work and you're helping the next generation or even veterans out there. I'm sorry, I'm cussing so much.
Hey, man, I'm a UC day. It's doing my everything I can to hold my tongue. I'm like, man, he's gonna
But
yell at me
I
if I
do have a
cuss.
I do have an explicit mark on my podcast. So, but the point is that it's amazing how life works out. That even in our darkest moments, if we have faith and we get the help we need, that it's going to turn around. And it has for you, brother.
And that's the deal for me. You have to believe you can get better. That's a
Absolutely,
huge first step. If you can't see that, you don't believe it, it's going to be really damn hard to get out of that hole.
absolutely,
And again, with like the things you're doing and the things I'm doing, I for sure believe that if you have somebody similar to you, law enforcement, firefighter, veteran, whatever, it really helps them to see and open up and be accepting of they need help.
absolutely.
One of my group therapy things, I mean, again, therapy, still in it. I mean, I was in like every day for years. I mean,
Yeah,
can you make doctor every day for this? But
yeah, yeah.
I got stuck in our group therapy pretty early on, man, and I was the only cop. And like, all my stuff is, I
Oh,
got,
yeah,
I didn't belong. And I looked at these people, and I felt sympathy because they were really going through stuff, but they couldn't relate to me, and the doctor couldn't really relate to me,
yeah,
which is, I think, for me was huge to have somebody come and contact me and say, "Man, I get it, brother. I've been in the same shoes, and I understand it." That person hadn't been shot, but I related to him,
yeah. Because
because
they're first responders.
yeah, because it's just like you said. You might not have done undercover work and you might not have got shot. I mean, and you may even think, well, I really haven't done a whole lot of what people would classify as traumatic on your job of like a smaller department that doesn't have 180 homicides a year. But when you sit in a room or you talk to these, they realize like, man, we are all struggling with the same thing. We're all the
Uh,
same. It's
Absolutely.
and when they get rid of that shame, like, because they'll look at me and be like, "Well, I understand why Brent's having problems, but me, I don't understand why I do." Well, I do, and I can tell you, I feel for you, man, and I'm here for you, or lady, or whoever you're calling me, I get it. You don't
Yeah,
have to have my extreme experience.
yeah,
I'm a good, perfect example of an extreme one, so it's really loud and kind of easy to see. But you don't have to have done that to get it. So get over it.
yeah.
Like understand that you can get help and get the help.
Well, and I tell people, you make a good point, Brent. I tell people, clients that we have in the Shatterproof program is, look, it's not a trauma contest. All right. And I had to get over that when I was in therapy or inpatient. The guy next to me is talking about shooting, OIS, his partner goes down and stuff. Well, horrible stuff. And I've been through trauma in the military and law enforcement, but I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to compare to this guy's story? And for the listener out there, your trauma is your trauma. It is not a contest. So if you're holding back because you don't think you're worthy enough you don't want to be viewed as, look at Brent, man. He fucking got shot 3 times. Why are you even going to say, no, it's not about that. Your trauma is every bit of important because it affects you. So
For
open
sure.
up. It's not a contest. So
for
that's
sure.
the hard thing too, is trying to, people don't think their trauma measures up to like Brent's trauma. Brent, you even said it. Yours is an extreme case. Your trauma is your trauma. My trauma is my trauma. Your trauma affects you. My trauma affects me. So the point is, open up. It's
Yep.
important, no matter what it
Yeah.
is. Amazing stuff, brother. Talk about your book for a minute or two. Undercover Junkie.
Yeah, man. That was born from therapy initially, right?
Yeah.
So I go and I start doing therapy, and they having me handwrite out certain things when I was ready, and I hand wrote a bunch of incidents, good and bad, funny and terrible. And the more I wrote, I got therapeutic about it because I was at that step in my therapy that it was, warranted and helpful. And then I rewrote it again, and then I rewrote it all by hand because if you write stuff
Get
by hand,
lost.
and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally tell people you should journal
Yeah,
and you should
exactly.
handwrite it because it sucks, but it slows your mind down because you can't think too fast and you actually
Absolutely.
start processing stuff. So I wrote this thing out by hand. I mean, I've got stacks of composition notebooks, and then I started typing it out so that people could understand and read it because my handwriting's so terrible. But then I started doing speaking gigs and speaking at different places, and people were coming up to me afterwards or emailing me afterwards, tell me, "Oh my gosh, this is an amazing story. I'm glad I heard it because now I can see everything that is wrong with me, or I can see it in my partner or people. I wish you could come to my department. I wish you could come talk to us." And I started looking like, well, my presentation is almost identical to my book. It walks you through the early years of me, and it details the science about what is happening and the changes, and you can see the changes very clear.
Mhm.
So this isn't a book just war stories. You can take it voyeuristically like that, but we all can just tell just a shit ton of war stories. But that's not helpful, right? Because then
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
start one up and you play that
Yeah,
game. But
yeah, yeah.
if it comes with a purpose, which is what my book, Undercover Junkie, does, is bring it with some of the science, but it's not preachy and it is not with a doctor pounding it down your throat where you just want to sign the dotted line to get out of the training. So
Yeah.
yeah, it comes out February 15th. So it's on
Fucking
pre-sale right
awesome.
now. It's doing awesome. I was just blown away so far. It's doing way better than I ever expected, but it's for anybody. Spouses can read it and understand what their spouse is going
Yeah.
through. My wife is huge and behind this whole thing, and she's reading it like, man, I really wish I'd have known all this stuff and why the things were
Amazing.
happening and seeing it. And I think if I could get my story in as many people's hands, that it will help more people. Because as much as
Absolutely.
I'd love to go talk to everybody, and I go out and do some work in some California places that help me, therapeutically. And so I'm working with peer groups out there, and I'm thinking, man, what can I do to do more? The book. So
That's awesome.
it's where it is, man.
Where can people find it?
Easiest, I mean, it's on Amazon,
Okay.
Undercover Junkie. You can go to my website too, undercovered.net. So it's like undercover past tense, .net, and click on it, find it through there. You can find ways to contact me on my website, and I hope that people do, especially if they feel power in my message and my story here today. I'd like to make the offer if you come on there, you go to Amazon,
Go ahead,
um,
brother.
buy the book, send me an email and say, hey, I bought it. Here's my receipt number or whatever. I've got a pretty cool challenge coin
I want to
that
see
was
it, brother.
left over from my undercover days, right? You're gonna get one for
Yeah.
sure.
That is
So
badass, folks.
so it got banned from our department initially because it was too aggressive with
It's
all the
too
dope stuff all
hard.
over it.
It's too
Yeah. So
hard.
now that I'm not tied to them, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll do what I want. So it doesn't have anything that's gonna get me in trouble with them. But hey, if you buy the book, I'm gonna send this to you for free. And I know we love challenge coins, man. I got
Oh
my own
yeah.
collection
I got a
going, which
ton of them.
I hadn't ever started this until I got shot, man. And so Donald Trump was president when I got shot. He came to Kansas City and visited us.
Oh man.
Gave me one of his challenge coins. So I was like, well, man, if the president of the United States is going to give you a challenge coin, maybe you had better start collecting these dang things.
That
So
is awesome, brother.
yeah,
And God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much. Everything for the listener out there, please reach out to Brent. Amazing guy. Get him to your agency, get him to your conference, listen to him. Amazing guy, buddy. I appreciate you being here. God bless you. I'm so glad that understatement, that you are here alive and well and giving back to a lot of people out there, brother, with your story. Thank you
Man, I
so
really,
much.
yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Like, I'm honored to be here on your show and honored to be alive, man. And that's some of the things we lose sight of, right? Is that it's, glorious to be alive, and we can lose sight of that pretty easy with the
Yeah,
destruction we see. So there's
absolutely.
pretty good happiness you'll find once you realize, and you're on the good straight and narrow. So, man, again,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. Love that I was able to get on here and talk to you today.
Thank you, brother. God bless.
All right, buddy.